Dear students, welcome. Today's topic is void agreements. From chapter 6 of business law, an agreement not enforceable by law is a void agreement. A void agreement does not give rise to any legal consequences and is void ab initio. It means from the beginning, right from the beginning, according to section 2, subsection G. So, students, an agreement to make a valid contract, or you can say when you are developing an agreement to make a valid contract, must not be one of those that are expressly declared to be void by law. Here are few uh, examples from the void agreements, or you can say these are the examples of void agreements. Number one, agreement in restraint of marriage, agreement in restraint of trade, agreement in restraint of legal proceedings. The fourth one is uncertain agreements and wagering agreements. So these are the examples of void agreements according to section 2 and subsection G of the Contract Act 1872. The very first example of void agreement, that is agreements in restraint of marriage, according to section 26. Every agreement in restraint of marriage of any person other than minor is void. By law, every person other than minor has a right to marry according to his choice and according to his desire. Any agreement restricting this freedom is void. A promise to marry a particular person is not restraint of marriage. An agreement restraining a minor is not considered restraint of marriage. So an agreement with minor, where you are just restraining minor from marrying, that agreement is not a void agreement, that is generally a valid agreement. Example, a Muslim having two living wives promises any of his wife or her relatives not to marry again is void. Second, A agrees with B that she will not marry C. It is a void agreement. So students, in these two examples, you can see any agreement where you are restraining yourself from marrying is void. The next example of void agreement is agreements in restraint of trade according to section 27. Every agreement by which anyone is restrained from exercising a lawful profession, trade or business of any kind is to that extent is void. So it is everybody's freedom or liberty to do a lawful business according to his desire and choice. Every person has a right to carry on any lawful trade, business, or profession. A person cannot be deprived of his right. So you can exercise your right anytime regarding a lawful business. Example, an agreement in which one party agrees to close his business against the promise of other party to pay some amount is void, being is restraint of trade. So this agreement is considered as a restraint of trade agreement. But here are few exceptions regarding this particular agreement, which is agreement in restraint of trade. The first exception, which is sale of goodwill. The seller of goodwill of a business may agree with buyer on the following conditions. Number one, he can be restrained from carrying on a similar business. Number two, the restraint will continue till the buyer carries on business. Third one is the restraint will restrict to specified local limits. Fourth one is the limits must be reasonable within the eyes of the law. So these are, you can say, exceptions regarding the sale of goods. Here is example. A sells his bakery to B with goodwill of rupees 1 lakh and agrees not to carry on bakery in entire Pakistan. It is unreasonable and so wide. Students, you can see in this example, the restraint from B to A is unreasonable in the eyes of law. So that's why this agreement of A and B will be considered as a void agreement. The next exception, that is partners agreement. Partnership Act provides that the following agreements are not considered restraint of trade according to section 11 subsection 2 of the Contract Act 1872. Number one, a partner may agree not to carry on a business similar to that of a partnership while he is a partner. A retiring partner may agree with other partners that he will not carry on a similar business within a specified period or specified local limits. The third one is partners may, in anticipation of the dissolution of the firm, agree that some or all of them will not carry on a similar business within a specified period or specified local limits. The fourth one is any partner may, on the sale of goodwill, agree with the buyer not to carry on similar business within a specified period or specified local limits. The next, the next exception is trade combination. If the object of an agreement is to regulate business and not to restrain it, then it is a valid. Once again, if the object of the agreement between the parties is to regulate business and to regulate prices, will not be considered as restraint of trade, this agreement will be considered as valid. An agreement to regulate prices, once again, and output is not restraint of trade, but combination which creates monopoly in the market is void. Example, an agreement between the ice manufacturing companies not to sell ice below a stated price. This agreement is valid because here they are not going to create a monopoly, but they are just regulating the prices. The next exception, that is a service contract. A person while in service with an other may, by the terms of his service, be prevented from accepting other jobs. Example, a chartered accountant employed in a company may be debarred from private practice during service. So, you can restrict the employee during the service not to engage himself or herself with another employment. The third agreement, which is void agreement, which is agreement in restraint of legal proceedings. It means an agreement which prohibits a person from taking judicial proceedings in respect to any right arising from a contract is void. Similarly, an agreement which reduces the period of limitation, which is 3 years, prescribed by law of limitation, is void. Here is example, A agrees to sell sugar to B and the parties agree that in case of breach of contract by any party, none of them would go to a court of law. The agreement is void. Following are the exceptions to the last agreement. Number one, the parties may agree that in case of dispute among the parties, the dispute will be referred to the arbitration. Second one, the parties may agree that neither party shall appeal against the lower court's decision. The third one is the parties may agree to select one of the two courts which are equally competent to try the suit. Fourth example of void agreements, that is uncertain agreements. Students, agreements the meaning of which is not certain or capable of being made certain are void. The terms must be clear, complete and certain. If terms are unclear, incomplete, and uncertain, it is void agreement. Here comes example. A agrees to sell B 100 tons of oil. It is not clear what kind of oil is to be sold. The agreement is void for uncertainty. It means the parties are not clear what is being sold to the other. Fifth example of void agreements, that is wagering agreements. Wager means a bet. A wager is an agreement to pay money or money's worth on the happening of uncertain event. Each party has equal chance to win or lose the bet. If one party wins but does not lose, it is not a wagering contract. I'm just going to repeat my words once again, students. If one party wins but does not lose, it is not a wagering contract. Example, A and B mutually agree that if it rains today, A will pay B rupees 100, and if it does not rain, B will pay A rupees 100. There is a wagering agreement. We have few essentials of wager. There must be a promise to pay money or money worths. So promise is about money or money worths. The second essential is the promise must be conditional on happening or non-happening of an event. So the promise depends upon students happening or non-happening of an event. The third essential is the event must be an uncertain. If one of the parties has the event in his own hands, transaction is not a wagering agreement. Fourth one is one party is to win and the other is to lose. If one party does not lose, it is not a wagering agreement. Fifth, the party should have no interest in happening of an event. It means the parties are interested in money or money's worth. They are not interested in the events. Sixth, the parties must have interest in the betting amount only. Good luck, students. See you next time.